All right, we're back to the AI Business Podcast after a few weeks off, some life changes, some background changes.
Yep.
We are back. So, Ryan, you are still heavily involved in AI, but now somewhere else.
Yep.
Uh, my company has started to make the transition into fully agentic, which is going to be interesting. What we're going to talk about today. But Ryan, you were here last week, and you got a peek under the hood of
Yep.
what we are doing agentically. So we're going to talk today about what it looks like to prepare for the agentic future. And I think one of the things that's become clear to me as I implement this, it's not an AI problem.
Yeah.
It's a human problem.
Yep.
And how do you build a system for imperfect people
Yep.
and solve for that? So Ryan, what were some of the takeaways as I started to explain what we were doing that, alarm bells started going off of like, hey, I could see people tripping there or falling down there. What were some of the things that we talked about?
The biggest one I'd have to say would be, I don't know where to start. There's a few. Probably how people set it up currently. I'm not going to go into depth and reveal like anything until we want to do that. But how your structure, we'll call it a folder structure, was set up for moving your company into the agentic world is something that honestly kind of, I wouldn't say shocked me, but was a different perspective compared to what you see a lot about online today. Because a lot of people build it internally. So they'll have agents and then they'll have instructions for those agents, or they'll have like a markdown or a .md for the technical people out there that instruct the agent on what to do and what not to do. But those are all specific to each agent. And there's no company wide instructions, if you will, that will guide a company. Because like when you hire somebody on, you're not just telling them what their specific task is with zero relevance to the rest of the company. They wouldn't know what they're doing, how they're working, any of that. I think that's probably the biggest thing that when you showed me what you're doing, it was kind of like an aha moment that I didn't particularly dive enough into on my own when I was exploring this. That was probably my favorite part about it too. Just thinking of most people, like from a people perspective, hiring on, you gotta know what the company's doing, what the company's for, what they're all about, not just what your tasks are going to be for, say, that day or that week or that month.
Yeah. So the three reasons I came to that conclusion. So what Ryan's referring to specifically is the the agentic harness isn't it is agentic, but it's not done intentionally that way. It really took an expertise of what it is that we do and outlining that. So I saw, pretty much this whole year I've been trying to figure this out. Where I struggled the most was on the development side, the data science side, and that's the part I had to learn the most. But I kept seeing three things happen. So, Ryan, what you historically built are AI applications inside a company. That I think is where AI is the most successful currently. Is like,
Yeah.
hey, we need chatbot is probably the most basic thing. Like, we
Yeah.
need a chatbot, or we need a pricing tool, or an estimating tool. I think I've seen some really cool
Yeah.
agentic estimating tools. That's where I think AI is getting implemented the best currently. And then you hear from the big guys, hey, we spent this many millions of dollars. AI didn't work, or nobody uses it. We have 1,000 seats and there's 7 people. And then the people who are successful with it are essentially building their own. I've really only seen anybody in Claude do this well inside of a business application, but they're building out their own Claude world, Claude
Yeah.
partner.
Yeah.
And then the world that fortunately slash unfortunately I have to go in and out is in the digital marketing world. And
Yeah.
a lot of those guys who are, put it nicely, hucksters, at worst scammers, are selling agents as like human analogs, essentially, like a
Yeah.
human, like this agent does marketing, this agent, or if they break it down further, like this agent does SEO. And I kept seeing that it not working like that, where I wanted to figure out how I could get these agents to be task based.
Yep.
And so that's why we set up this folder system. And then the thing that I witnessed early in this year was, as I was teaching my team how to work with AI, there was like a level of, and I don't know how, maybe that just time solves this, as like the younger generations get used to AI. They don't even need to be told to do these things. But
Yeah.
for example, we showed some people on our team how to use AI, and then I found out they were basically just pushing scripts, like manually pushing scripts
Yep.
through like their
Yep.
development panel. Whereas it was the equivalent of just going to that program and downloading a CSV. Like there was
Yep.
no,
Yep.
they were using tokens to essentially download a CSV. I'm
Yep.
oversimplifying it, but essentially what they were doing.
Oh, it
And
is.
so I like, where do I start to teach them, like, oh, that's a CSV down, like, just because you can have AI do it doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yep.
So that's where that folder structure started to come from, where we started to just map out like everything the company does. But this also raised some other interesting points, and I brought this up when I was with you. We are, I don't know if we're lucky or just kind of where our business is now, but the three roles you need is the operator. In my experience, the operators are not AI knowers. I don't know how else to
No.
say that. Um, and then you need the AI implementer, the developer, the
Yep.
Ryans of the world, which that was the part I was weakest in. Like I knew how to use AI, but it was the development side, like
Yep.
the coding side, the tooling side. And then the third piece is the what is it that you actually do. I know what we do, and if I don't, I can just go get the person on my team who does know how
Yep.
to do that, give me the instructions. So bringing that all together has been really interesting. It is up, it is working, and now the thing we have to think through, and I brought this, Ryan, up to you, is what happens with edge cases. So
Yep.
um, we're using a co-pilot. This is where I think I have a lot of questions for not my company. Like, what does this look like for other
Yeah.
people? And so, Ryan, with your new role, right, they're in, I don't even know. So, Copilot, for those who don't know, Copilot is not Microsoft Copilot. A Copilot is the tool or system you use to interact with the agentic system.
Yep.
So for us, that's really easy because we use one. We just use our task management system.
Yep.
There are a million task management systems, from Monday, Asana, Basecamp, ClickUp. Like there's all these task management systems. That's our Copilot. That's how we interact with the system. But Ryan, I don't even know. Like if you were to list off what you consider our Copilots at the new company, could you even do? Could you even do it yet?
They have like two, like
They
Slack.
have two.
Slack.
Right.
People use it, but again, it's a people problem. A lot of people aren't active in Slack. And
Mm-hmm.
then Monday.com. One team is starting to use Monday.com. And as we kind of build out their implementation layers and stuff, we're going to try and build a company wide Monday so everyone has their specific tasks going. Everyone can see what's going on across the company and internally to their specific teams. And I think that's what we're going to target once we try to build this implementation in is working in Monday.
Not tangent, little tangent, but also relevant to what you just said. If you've listened to any of our other podcasts, but I'll say it fresh, I do not believe in being stuck with one LLM. This is why I don't let my team build. The harness is not. We're not allowed to be in Claude. Like you
Mm-hmm.
can use Claude. We use the most tokens from Anthropic. It's my tool of choice. I love the
Yep.
systems, but we don't do automations. We don't rely on Claude intentionally because we never want to get stuck inside
Yep.
of one harness.
Yep.
Um, but what this makes it, they're good. Like Anthropic, they're just good. And
Yeah.
they're just good. And they hired some new engineers in this past week that are like world famous. Like the engineer that wrote was one of the authors on the Transformer architecture paper in 2017 from Google, left Google. He's at Anthropic. Andre Karpathy, who is arguably probably the most famous AI
Yep.
researcher and head of AI from Tesla, OpenAI. Now he's at Anthropic. So they are building quite the team. They
Yeah.
released a. So you could always put Claude in Slack, but now they have like a. I don't know. They kind of promoted it as an employee almost, or
Yeah.
like a
Yeah.
teammate. Like it's more than just the chat functionality of Claude. It's like an actual, it's supposed to be like an actual agent that can work as if it's a
Yep.
human. Um, we're not going to talk about the Fable stuff, but until Fable is running that, I don't think that's going to work very well.
Yeah.
In the brief 2 day period we had with Fable, it feels like it probably could do that. Sorry. So back to the harness. One of the things that I thought was really interesting, and I'm curious to hear what you think about how we did this. So we built a VPS, private server, virtual private server, for all of our tooling. And so one of the debates we had internally for a few months was N8N, which is, if you don't know, N8N is like a Make or a Zapier. Do we use N8N because it's visual and non-technical-ish people
Yeah.
can use it, or do we just build applications on a VPS? Obviously, you saw what we are doing. We're building applications on a VPS. When you saw that, what did you? I'm curious because it's a very visual. It's unusual
Yeah.
the way we did it, but it was very visual.
Yeah.
I love it. I think it's really interesting solution.
Yeah. So, I mean, I have to agree. I can't even deny with you because the services you guys were using is what I use myself. Um, Simply because how visual it is, and it's
Mm-hmm.
very easy to use. It's very easy to like see your team, your skills, how they all connect, how they relate to each other. Um, and I think and I could be wrong here, but N8N is also more so, in my opinion, more of like a workflow builder. Like it's more of a, you're going to do this one specific task maybe at this time every day or this time every week and work you through it, versus what you're building is you're hosting your agents or your employees
Mm-hmm.
um, somewhere that they're able to run 24/7 based on tasking either by you that they divulge, like that they think is worth working on. Like, I don't know how you have it set up, I don't know what the freedom levels are, but if you build it out to a point where they will work on their own, you're gonna like the way you have it set up now allows for that, versus some of these other systems are more so set schedules or based on a command or a reaction, interaction, whatever it may be. Um, so I like how you have it set up because it opens up for freedom once, like what you said, once that Fable comes out again, who knows? There's a lot more possibilities that'll come with that.
So right now, the other thing that we did was we put, so like our MCPs, our model context protocol code also exists on those servers. So like our
Yep.
task management MCP is there. I'm looking at it right now. Our Google Business Profile MCP is there. Um, then we have other things running. So like the weekly pulse, that's like our weekly marketing check-in
Yep.
on each one of our clients that pushes like anything that is flagged weekly. Um, we have our visual regression. So we have a visual AI that's looking at websites. So if anything, I don't know what the band of, there's a, upper and lower bound of what can change without
Yep.
flagging the system, but that's on there. So and that's cool because that's like living, right? That's part of the system. One of the things I don't know, which I'm very curious to find out, but it's probably going to take, it's really going to, I don't know, a couple months is probably not even enough. It's probably at minimum 6 months, if not longer. But the way we have all of, I don't even want to say all the data because it's more than just data, but the way we've figured out to surface knowledge in the system, I thought was pretty interesting. So I showed this to what's his role? He's a business consultant, I guess we'll call him,
Yeah.
and he's very AI forward, if you will. But his system is essentially Claude with Obsidian. If you haven't seen any of those videos, that's how everybody says they call it. You'll see the videos. Build a second brain, which is interesting, but Obsidian requires, in my experience, pruning and
Yeah.
organization. And so I think it's a really nice system to learn
Yeah.
AI, but it's not really enterprise grade
No. No.
solution.
No. No.
And
No.
so we're using RAG. We're using a RAG system. So all of the data is passing through there. We're letting AI build that basically we're letting the AI build its own brain,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
is interesting. Now, it won't necessarily negatively affect anything. It could, but I think where it either it either doesn't do anything or is positive. That's kind
yeah,
of my hope, and it'll be hard to tell. I think one of my where it might fail is the as that data grows over time, it gets too convoluted, I guess. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes.
yeah,
Um, I know you've built a few RAG systems, right?
yep, yep.
Did you have any issues? Like, what were some of the issues you ran into?
Um, the biggest ones were structuring the data in the database that it pulls from was probably the biggest, and like that was at like a massive enterprise level. And that's why I brought up to you when we were meeting the HSWN, forgot what it stands for, or
Right.
HSNW, um, which is almost like a 3D structure of the data that allows the agents to match data more similarly, right? Um,
Pinecone does that naturally, by the way,
oh, sweet. Okay,
out of the
cool. I didn't
box.
know that.
Out of the
Yeah,
box.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so when I did it, I had to build all mine from scratch, and I had to build all the vectorizations, all that kind
Mhm.
of stuff. But yeah, the biggest one is like the matching of information would be very difficult because from one, like you have to take a natural language prompt, and then from there you have to deduce, if you will, or have the agent deduce what are the key points from what they're asking and then take that. So that's already one step that I could mess up on right there. It could think you're talking about the word what, why, or then instead of like the number or whatever you're trying to find. And then from
Mhm.
there, it has to go find that. And then that, as you can see, can slowly unravel itself. So
Yeah.
having it, at least in the systems I've built, like heavily guardrailed and very specific of like how to deduce the information from natural language all the way through the system was probably the biggest problem I had. And then figuring out how to fix that was probably resulted in the biggest, I guess you could call it, solution. Because it provided me with the actual data I wanted when I was looking through. But this also was like a 10 million line database in a Postgres database. So it was a Postgres database, and then I had to vectorize all of it into its own. And then anything something unraveled, I had to re-vectorize all of it. Um, but that's
Whew.
very complex. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
very, very complex
All right. So that's for
compared
the
to most people's
technical.
systems. Yeah, yeah.
Right. That's for the technical people listening. If somebody was listening to this and they came to you and said, "Hey Ryan, we want this system that we talked about
Yeah.
here," what would your first recommendation be to prepare to implement or think about this? Be
Know where all your data lives and how clean, and when I say clean, is how structured and organized the data you have is. That's the most important thing. Because if you keep a really good, even like a Google sheet, um, that's clean, it's very easy to find. There's like primary keys, as we call them in the technical world, but things that
Mhm.
allow relationship matching through your data, whether it's like SKU numbers or customer name and their phone number, then your phone number allows them to look up in other areas. As long as stuff like that is clean and organized as your like data layer before you build on these like orchestration layers that we've been talking about, that's the absolute first step for any single company I've ever worked with. That's always where it begins. Even this new company that we were mentioning earlier, the first thing we're doing, they don't even utilize their data. So the first thing we're doing is taking their data, cleaning it, organizing it properly at like an enterprise level, and then putting on either enterprise AI tools, custom built AI things, um, any of that kind of stuff. But it always starts with your data. For everyone out there, clean your data, please.
I will give you the operational answer.
Okay.
How good could you do you have an operations manual, an operations document? Do you have how well are your systems documented? So like that's the two pieces. So it's Ryan's piece of what data do we have and what do we have to organize? And it's the operational piece of how does
Yeah.
this business actually work? And that's what an AI system is. It's not hey, I have some AI that does something, and we're going to insert it into the business. You have to. And what I learned with Fable, I said we weren't going to talk about it, but what I learned with Fable is the more organized your business is on both of those things,
Yep.
the
Yep.
faster the implementation is going to go. So
Yep.
I've been working with Opus for months to work on this system. So I had the framework. I dropped Fable in and it just knew what to do because it had all of the well
Yep.
labeled data and it had all of the well documented instructions of what the
Yep.
company does. And it was
Yep.
able to build faster. It was making leaps quicker
Yeah.
versus Opus chunks, which is
Yep.
fine. You're still going to get there, but it's slower and you have
Yep.
to check it. You have to check its assumptions every time.
Always.
Where
Yep.
Fable was telling me like, hey, I see this rule, but this rule is not applied in this location. Do we also want to apply that rule? Opus
Yep.
wasn't making those connections where
Yep.
Fable was making those connections. Um, well, I think this was a really good prepare yourself for the agentic future.
Yep.
I think with the right pieces, um, any company, I would say roughly under 50 people. I won't even say a revenue range because I think it's more of a people problem. Anybody probably under 50, definitely under 25. Like these systems are ready to go. The
Yeah.
reason I put it at a people number and not a revenue number is because when you get above some of the, there's too much institutional knowledge to try and like teach and pull down.
Yeah.
I do think some of those systems will be here within the year. I do think this system probably could do it within the year as we get a bigger handle on it.
Yep.
But you're going to get a lot of competing higher ups, I think, at
Yeah.
companies that are that size that are going to have different opinions on how the
Opinions. Yeah.
company should be run. But if you have like a really strong operational or CEO who says, no, this is how we have to do
Yeah.
this, I think these systems are awesome and they're there. You just have to know how to put them together and you have to meet your people where they are. And I guess that's the part I left out. There's only of the 13 people at my company, there's only two of us who really know all the back end stuff. The back end is very easy. It's not complex. Like it was meant to be built so anybody who understands this technology can come in and look at it and figure it out.
Yeah.
But the people in the team who don't need to know this technology, who just need to execute on the things they need to execute, they don't have to know how to go use AI anymore. It just meets them in the Copilot,
Yeah.
in the task management system,
Yep.
and moves forward. So I think that's really cool. Ryan, I know you're in between meetings at the new job, but we will be recording more of these.
Yep.
Anything else about preparing for this before we sign off?
Um, Off the top of my head, no, I think we covered it. Main data and knowing how your company runs, what your company's all about, are the two most important things for sure.
And I now have a operator I'm connected with. So if you need that person to come in and whip you into shape, reach out
Yeah.
and I'll send him your way. All right, Ryan.
Perfect.
Till next time. See ya.
All right. Bye bye.